St. Jacques, a highly revered, talented black actor of the late 20th century who was adored by critics and fans alike. Handsome, dignified, and determined, he was one of the greats in his field. But there was reason for even more applause, and that was the son that he reared, Sterling St. Jacques. Tall, graceful, and beautiful was Sterling, and people declared that it was a marvelous thing how Raymond passed on his creative talents to the boy. But soon, word started to get around about Raymond and Sterling's behavior at home. It was much more than what a simple father and son should have been up to, and honey, the streets started talking. Was Raymond really the stand-up guy that everybody thought he was? Was Sterling a child wrongfully taken from his home country under sketchy circumstances? Rumor after rumor persisted at the time, but still nobody knew the truth. Well, today we are going to try to break down some of those rumors and gossip and try to determine what the actual truth was. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandal video. Do not forget your merch by going to my Ashley Says So website, and if you want to see my Amazon wish list, the link is in the description. Now let's dive right into this disclaimer so we can dive right into the scandal, because baby, a time is about to be had. Let's get to it.
I'm not sure what's true or false in this video. I take gossip and tea and scandal from online, from books, from magazine, from word of mouth, and I ball it all up and I tell you guys a story. The whole video is for entertainment purposes. I have done my research. Make sure you do yours. Now, let's get to the video.
Now, Sterling St. Jacques, aka Sterling Thomas, aka Sterling Hobbs, aka Sterling Coulter's background has always been somewhat of a mystery. The online records show that he was born on October the 12th, 1957 in Salt Lake City, Utah. But already with this information, baby, this is cause for pause. Because per some of Sterling's family, these online records are a dang on lie. Per the family, Sterling was born almost a decade earlier, in September of 1949. And that Sterling was born to his mother, a woman by the name of Lavon Hobbs Ledbetter, and a father who may have been named Sterling Hobbs Sr. Now, while I couldn't get confirmation about the father's name, I can say with absolute confidence that Sterling had at least 2 siblings whom were said to be sisters. And I also can say with confidence that some of Sterling's family members have said that Sterling's young life or his early life was not a happy one. Now, people give several reasons for the cause of Sterling's unhappiness, but most people boil down to 3 things. They say it was either because of poverty that the family allegedly suffered, or they say the reason may have been because Sterling was gay and recognized it from a very early age. And the very last reason they gave is that Sterling may have suffered with some sort of small identity crisis. He grew up in a mostly white town and went to a mostly white school. And allegedly, Sterling identified more with the white people around him. By looking at Sterling's high school picture, it does seem like a very real possibility that he identified more with the white race, because you certainly didn't see many young black men in the 1960s walking around with this type of hairstyle, especially in high school. Whatever the reason of Sterling's unhappiness, gossip claims that he was always talking about leaving his hometown and become a star. Sterling by this time had heard the wonderful tales of young gay men going to San Francisco and living their life openly and also finding a lot of success there. You know, they had the up and coming Divine, they had Jane County, and I'm more than sure that he heard about the fabulous up and coming Sylvester. So Sterling hit the road to San Francisco to make his destiny. And baby, when he got there, he found out wasn't no destiny to be had. Because yes, Sterling had great looks and was a very beautiful man, but what the heck did that matter? San Francisco was teeming with young, beautiful men. So Sterling knew in order to really make something of himself, he would have to stand out. He would have to find a way to make himself pop. He felt the best way to do this would be to take on the nightclub scene. So rumor has it when he was around 17, 18, or 19, he started working as a go-go dancer. And honestly, this was one of the best choices that Sterling could have made because he was a fabulous dancer. And folks would come from all over to see this beautiful chocolate boy spin. But child, the messy streets say that Sterling was doing a little bit more than spinning. Honey said his moves on the dance floor attracted some attention, but his moves in the bedroom attracted even more attention. And yes, what I'm trying to say is that Sterling allegedly was sitting up there turning all type of tricks. Undercover gay actors used to be his dime baby, and gossip claims this is how he ended up meeting his father, Raymond St. Jacques. And yes, I was being messy by wording it that way. Now check me out. The folks say that Raymond St. Jacques was about 20 years older than Sterling. And they say that when he first came to the club that Sterling danced at, that was the reason that he came to the club, because he had heard about this beautiful boy that could dance. But here's the thing, not only did he pay for a night with Sterling, he also wanted much more. And so allegedly, Sterling and Raymond started to talk, but Raymond ended up getting very jealous and kind of possessive over Sterling. Allegedly, he wanted Sterling to be his full-time boy toy. He also wanted Sterling to not only give up dancing, he wanted Sterling to just stop chasing a career, period. You know, basically he was offering Sterling, you know, let me take care of you. Be my guy and don't worry about dancing or acting or anything else. Rumor has it Sterling was not going for this because he wanted his career. And so this little arrangement that he and Raymond initially had ended in late 1967 or early 1968. And by 1969, Sterling ended up moving to New York to try to start a legit career. However, when Sterling got to New York, he saw very quickly that this was nothing like San Francisco or California at all. Life was much tougher in New York. The folks say that he wasn't even in New York for a good 6 months before he found himself dusty, broke, and musty, and not even having enough money to rent out a hotel room. And so he did like most of us would do. Got on the phone with his mama crying and hollering, telling me he needed some help. And per gossip, his mother did not come up to help him, but she sent either an aunt or an uncle who lived close to New York, and they came to pick Sterling up. And so Sterling begins to live with the family member that picked him up, and some type of way, while he was in this predicament, he and Raymond St. Jacques started to converse again. And rumor has it, Raymond came with the same offer that he had before. He told Sterling, all you have to do is give up your career. All you have to do is just be with me. But Sterling wouldn't bite. But allegedly, Raymond wanted to get with Sterling so bad that he told Sterling, okay, you know what? I'll take care of you. You can have your own career. Heck, I will even help you get a career. All I want you to do is be mine. And Sterling accepted this offer. And gossip claims Raymond arrived at the family member's house and he picked Sterling up himself, and they went back to live together in California. And this was said to have happened in the year 1969. Now here is where we get into the true mess. Because allegedly, after about 2 years of being together, so around the year 1971, Raymond adopted Sterling as his son, which meant that Sterling no longer went by the names Sterling Thomas, Sterling Coulter. Now he was going by the name Sterling St. Jacques. And this so-called adoption raised eyebrows for years because the open secret was that Sterling and Raymond were actually a couple. So because a lot of people knew that Sterling and Raymond were lovers, a lot of people were wondering, you know, why did he adopt him? What's that about? And in trying to make sense of this move, a lot of people have come up with a lot of different rumors throughout the years. And one of the most prominent and most believed rumors was that Raymond St. Jacques adopted Sterling because he was a deviant edophile. It claims that in the late 1960s, Raymond went to Brazil to find a poor young black boy to make his sexual victim. And the victim he chose was Sterling. And this rumor also claims that after Raymond found Sterling in Brazil, he brought him back to the States with him, and that is when he filled out adoption papers to act like he was this child's adopted father, when in truth, he was molesting this child. And he wanted to do it in peace, so that is why he adopted Sterling, because people wouldn't question why this young boy was living with him. Now, this rumor is very ooga booga booga booga, and what child? But let's get into why it just doesn't work. See, the people who came up with this rumor believe the fake records that say that Sterling was born in the year 1957. They thought they were putting 2 and 2 together by saying Raymond went to Brazil and found that little boy because that little boy was only 13 or 14 years old when Raymond adopted him. But in reality, once again, Sterling's birth year was actually 1949. Sterling was actually around 22, 23 years old, and he was not born in some Brazilian place or anything like that. He was born right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So since we know that Sterling was not a little exotic kid when he was adopted by Raymond St. Jacques, what is the real reason for the adoption? Well, there are 2 real reason. The first alleged real reason was that Raymond St. Jacques was super duper undercover. He was terrified that if people found out he was gay, it would ruin his career. He felt like adoption was the only way that he could be with Sterling as a couple living together full time. Now, I know some of y'all out there, especially you Hollywood history buffs, are like, that don't make no sense though. Why come they just couldn't live together in secret? Or, why come they couldn't act like they was best friends like a lot of undercover gay actors did in Hollywood back at that time? Well, when it came to Raymond and Sterling, these methods simply would not have worked. Absolutely nobody was going to buy that this 40-year-old man had so much in common and was so friendly with this 20-year-old boy that they had to move in and be roommates. No, the first thing folks was gonna say was best friends? Child, if you don't get that gay couple out of here. So that best bud living together thing wouldn't have worked. And for the people who were saying, well, they could have lived together in secret, baby, that wasn't gonna work either. Because Raymond was already a star and Sterling was wanting to be a star. With both of these people being celebrities when Sterling made it, there was no way they were going to be able to keep their living together a secret. No, the public was going to start picking and prying and wanting to know more about Sterling, and they were going to discover that these 2 men were living together. Matter of fact, I almost forgot, even before Sterling got famous, an incident happened that let the world know that Sterling and Raymond were living together. Let me tell you about it. Now, there are several versions of this story, but of course, I'm going to go with the messiest ones. The folks say that sometime in the year 1972, Raymond left his and Sterling's home in California to fly out to Dallas, Texas to film a movie. And this version says while Raymond was gone, Sterling wanted to get loose, wanted to have a little bit of fun. So allegedly, Sterling invited over 3 men so he could do some things, but his crazy tail didn't know these men well. And the story says Sterling and the men, got comfortable, and then they slowly began an orgy. And after the foreplay was done, it was time to really go there, and gossip claims Sterling jumped out of his clothes first. And clearly this was planned by those men, because child, why come the folks say that after Sterling was sitting up there butt naked, them men started slapping his skinny head tail around? Child, say the men was giving them backhands and asking them where the money and the jewels was at. They was trying to rob the house. So Sterling told the men that the money and the jewels was this way, and then he went off walking, about to show them the room. Well, as he pointed to one room for the men to go in, he suddenly darted away and locked himself up in another room. While he was locked up in that room, gossip claims the robbers started banging on the door trying to tear the door down. And so Sterling picked up the phone and called to Dallas to talk to Raymond, telling Raymond, it's 3 men in the house. What should I do? What should I do? And the folks say that Raymond told him, it's a gun in the closet in the room you are in. Go get that gun and shoot them. So Sterling goes and gets the gun and he starts to shoot. And of course, the 3 men who had been banging on the door take off running. Sterling didn't just let the thieves run away. Baby, this boy took off in a full sprint running after them with his thing just hanging and banging all across his thigh. Not only did Sterling chase them to the front door, he chased them out of the front door and hawked them down, baby, and stood holding them hostage butt booty naked in the middle of the street. And so Sterling is just standing out there looking like a naked superhero until the police pulled up and they took took those men to jail. And so I know that robbery story kind of took us off track, but the reason I was telling you that story is to show you, even if Sterling never got famous, shenanigans like this still would have let the world know that he and Raymond were living together. So everything that we just discussed sums up the first alleged real reason that Raymond adopted Sterling, and gossip claims the second alleged real reason that Raymond adopted Sterling goes all the way back to when Sterling was dusty, broke, and musty living in New York. Remember how he moved in with a family member, and you remember when Raymond called him and he started telling Sterling, hey, let me offer this to you if you be with me? Well, gossip claims that not only did Raymond offer to take care of Sterling and also help Sterling with his career, he also offered to take care of Sterling after his death. And the way he was going to make sure that Sterling was taken care of was by adding Sterling to his will. And allegedly, Raymond offered to make the will airtight by telling Sterling that he would make Sterling his next of kin. And of course, he couldn't do this by marriage, so he told Sterling he would do this by making him his legally adopted son. And I already know what some of y'all are typing about the legal adoption and all that kind of stuff. I already know, but trust me, it will be explained at the end of the video. So to move on, allegedly, those are the two legit real reasons why Raymond St. Jacques adopted Sterling St. Jacques. But I want to make something crystal clear right here. When Raymond was offering to take care of Sterling, offering to make Sterling a next of kin, help Sterling with his career and all of this was under one condition. And the condition was that Sterling could have all of this from Raymond if Sterling remained loyal and faithful and remained in a relationship with Raymond. And keep this in mind because that is a very important detail. But to move on with the story, after Raymond did the adoption, he took care of Sterling and he used a big portion of his money in order to make Sterling a star. But out of everything he did, there was one thing he did for Sterling that really got the train moving. And that was put Sterling into contact with several modeling agencies. This is where Sterling St. Jacques absolutely shine. Baby, when he walked into those rooms with that 6'2" or 6'3" slender build, that gorgeously handsome Barbie doll face, the modeling world just knew he was the one. And so by 1975, things had started moving very quickly for Sterling. Baby, he was modeling for Revlon, I think, Yves Saint Laurent, and really just a whole bunch of famous names. Not only was he modeling in the magazines for these companies, he also was doing the catwalk. You know, he was in several fashion shows. So because he started to be in such high demand, Sterling St. Jacques became that guy. He started to appear in a lot of small films and some big films. He started hanging out very heavily with Andy Warhol. His career, especially his modeling career, was in such high gear, he was christened the world's first black male supermodel. And after getting this huge title, it was like the parties just never stopped. He would show up at Hollywood parties. He would show up at house parties for the wealthy. Would appear at almost every nightclub. But baby, there was one nightclub that was really near and dear. And that was Studio 54. Ask anybody around and they will tell you Sterling St. Jacques was Studio 54. I mean, he was the face of it. Sterling created a whole new identity at Studio 54. And this was the identity of a dancer. Baby, Sterling would light up the dance floor so much, people who were beside him would stop dancing just to watch him dance. He really was like the male version of Josephine Baker when she arrived in Paris and became the toast of the town. When he would take a break from dancing, people would crowd around him with wine glasses and cigarettes in hand and, laugh at his jokes. The Kennedys loved that man. Liza Minnelli loved that man. Shirley Bassey loved that man. Even Regine Zilberberg loved that man. And because Raymond was such a fantastic dancer at Studio 54, he started to be a professional dancer. A lot of times people over in Europe would hire him to come over to their European nightclubs and dance the night away because he brought wealthy and high-powered clientele. So since Sterling really was living this life now, and since he was a star, it was only a matter of time before he started cheating on Raymond. And of course, Raymond was absolutely furious at what Sterling was doing, and he was demanding Sterling, you need to stop seeing these other people. You are my man. But unfortunately for Raymond, Sterling was in his 20s. He had these great looks. He had a booming career. And so he started to feel like Raymond was kind of dragging him down. He started to really see Raymond as, jealous and possessive, just like he saw Raymond when they initially hooked up at the very first beginning. And so he ended up ending things with Raymond. And rumor has it that Raymond held a big grudge against Sterling. Now, I do know the folks say that once it was officially quits with Raymond, that Sterling turned into like a full-blown hoe. Folks say he was sleeping with producers, both movie and music, actors and actresses, rock stars, and gossip claims he also went through a whole heap of Wall Street bigwig. The folks say in the year 1976, he was dating some girl in New York, and then when she left her house, Raymond raided her jewelry drawer and took $1,000 worth of jewelry. And how about when the cops came to arrest him, this boy was naked with his TT in their face again. Now, the second female that he dated in public was the very well-known Pat Cleveland. But most people question if this relationship that Sterling had with Pat Cleveland was even a real relationship. Gossip claims that a lot of people feel like Pat was his beard, and the only reason that she was with him is because it boosted her popularity as a model, and Sterling was with her for the same reason. And there may be a lot of truth to this because, baby, Pat and Sterling together would walk in and shut the place down. Child, sometimes they would show up in the nightclubs. Pat would have her booster out, and Sterling would come in without a shirt. Then sometimes they would show up with matching glam. They walked catwalks together. They really were a fashion power couple. But the folks say when Sterling proposed to Pat in the year 1978, she felt like the farce had gone on, too far. She was not about to marry a man to be his beard. So allegedly she ended up dumping Sterling after he proposed. But I don't think this breakup affected Sterling at all because he went on without missing a beat. He went ahead and started another serious relationship, and gossip claims this was with Hubert de Givenchy. And yes, this is the fashion designer that came up with Givenchy. And the folks say that Hubert really spoiled Sterling. Said that he had Sterling living in huge high-rise condos. Then he would move Sterling into a palatial mansion. And let me be messy right here because gossip also claims that while Sterling was dating Givenchy, allegedly, he may have had an affair with Elton John. So he kind of was just living this life of excess, excess partying, excess sex, excess clothing, jewelry. I haven't touched on it, but he did the highest grade of cocaine and lots of it. Just living wild, very raucous. And Sterling was absolutely loving it. But then the 1980s came around. See, the 1980s killed disco and a lot of the things and people that disco made famous. And Sterling was one of those people. Suddenly, this long, skinny model dancer type was out of style, especially in the United States. Also, the 1980s brought in a new wave of black male models. People like Rashid Silvera, Charles Williamson, Renaud White. And although none of these guys were considered supermodels, or I don't think that they were, it's clear that they were a different type of model than Sterling was. It seems like the modeling industry was moving away from these effeminate looking type male models to get a little bit more masculine type male models. So with the changes in disco and the changes in modeling, Sterling St. Jacques started to fall off relatively quickly. Suddenly, Sterling couldn't really get gigs anymore. And it's not like Sterling had a whole bunch of money saved up. He should have, because he made a lot of money during his heyday, but he spent big time. The whole time he was making money, he was sending it back out because he was used to his wealthy suitors replenishing his money anytime he needed it. But now those wealthy suitors were on to the next new it thing. Sterling was old news. So rumor has it, it, in order to try to salvage his career, Sterling reinvented himself. He shaved off all of his facial hair, he popped in some blue contacts, and he moved over to Europe. While there, he did some modeling, but the pay wasn't as good as the pay he was getting in the United States. He did try to pop off an Italian singing career by singing Italian disco songs and appearing in Italian clubs. He also tried to become a disco DJ over in Italy, trying to make the disco thing happen again, trying to hold on to it. But unfortunately for Sterling, it was really just all dead. As the 1980s progressed, things became even worse for Sterling because allegedly in 1984 he was diagnosed with the AIDS virus. And most people feel like with this diagnosis there was a lot of mental trauma because Sterling started to kind of disappear from the public. It was like his public appearances became very sporadic. And honestly, after the year 1984, Sterling St. Jacques kind of just became a distant memory to a lot of people. It wasn't until the 1990s that Sterling's name sprang back up onto people's lips. And that was because his father, or adoptive father, Raymond St. Jacques, ended up passing away. The official reason given was lymphoma, but gossip claims that while it was lymphoma, it was actually brought on by the AIDS virus. Now, you may be thinking that the reason Sterling's name came back up on everybody's lips is because they were talking about the AIDS virus. Baby, that's not what it was at all. The true reason that Sterling's name came back up onto everybody's lips is because it became public knowledge that Raymond St. Jacques left Sterling only $1 in his will. Honey, you talking about petty and messy, baby. It was all that and more. It really was a scandalous thing, child. But the truth is, to the people in the know, it all made perfect sense. Because if you think back to the offer that Raymond made about taking care of Sterling after his death, if Sterling stayed loyal and faithful to him, well, Sterling did not do that. And so Raymond left his behind $1 in the will. But let me drop another messy T-bomb on you. Not only did Raymond leave Sterling $1, if you read what the actual will said, he referenced Sterling as a nephew, not an adopted son, a nephew, honey. And this was sure enough petty and eye-opening because what this revealed is Raymond never actually legally filed the papers to adopt Sterling in the first place. Rumor has it that all those years ago, he told Sterling that he had actually adopted him. But the truth was Raymond never filed any official papers. And what it seems like is that he would have eventually filed legal papers, but he wanted to sit back and wait and see how Sterling acted. And of course, since Sterling had dumped him, Raymond just never filed the papers. But here's the messiest part of all. The folks say that Raymond never told Sterling that he didn't file the adoption papers. So allegedly, Sterling this whole time had it in the back of his mind that once Raymond passed away, he was going to get, first claim to Raymond's estate. And if all of that is true, then baby, sure enough, Sterling's hair was sitting up there blue back when he read that doggone will and saw himself listed as nephew. The scandal, child. The scandal. Now, to be honest, after talking about Raymond passing away and all of that mess, there really is nothing left to say about Sterling St. Jacques. Because by this time, he had sure enough disappeared from the spotlight. He was definitely no longer famous. In fact, a lot of people thought that Sterling had passed away before Raymond had passed away. So they were quite surprised to see Sterling's name in Raymond's will at all. Now, the truth of Sterling's date of death is definitely contested, but all signs point to 1992 being the year that Sterling passed away. And I know that a lot of y'all are gonna do y'all little Google searches and come back in the comments talking about, nah, Ashley, I guess Raymond must have made a mistake in his will because I just searched on Google and it says that Sterling died in the year 1984. But you know what? I'm Ashley Says So. So instead of me just talking out of my lips, let me give you what I and other people consider proof that Sterling was alive in the year 1984. And that is an interview that Raymond gave in the year 1988 to the Chicago Tribune. And in this interview, he says clear as day that his son Sterling is alive and well and doing a TV show in Dusseldorf. So boom goes the dynamite. But let me go ahead and stop bragging, because even after all that bragging, I still cannot give you guys an official date or year of death. But like I said, most people feel, or most signs point to the year of 1992. As far as the cause of death, most people believe it was due to the AIDS virus. And although many sources say that Sterling was around 24 or 27 when he died, the official story from his family was that he was actually around the age of 42 or 43 years old when he passed away. But anyway, according to the gossip sites, this is one of the last times that Sterling was pictured in public before he passed away. And this is the end of the old Hollywood scandalous tale of Mr. Sterling St. Jacques. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like this video was super interesting because it paints a whole different narrative from the one that most of us have heard about this man all of our life. Again, I don't know what's true or false. Everything is alleged, but I do want to say thank you to the person that emailed me a lot of the meat of this video. And if you guys watching the video like the video, then really physically like the video. Also, if you are new here, please subscribe for more stories. If you've been sitting on the bench, you know what I say every time, get your messy tail in here and subscribe. All right, y'all, I love y'all. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Is anybody still here? Why has my face been greasy this whole doggone video? I have been wiping my face off over and over in between takes of me recording y'all, and I promise you every time I push record on the camera, the grease comes back. Anyway, I'm finna go because I'm talking to y'all like we talking on the live video. Love y'all. Bye.